I was halfway through my second deployment when I got the first call from the U.S. Bank Collections Department. At first, I thought it was a scam. Why would a mortgage lender be calling a corporal in the middle of Kandahar province, Afghanistan? I had just wrapped a 14-hour patrol shift in 110-degree heat, boots caked in red dust and sweat stinging my eyes, when my sat phone buzzed during downtime. The number looked domestic, a weird sight when you've been staring at Kabul area codes and encrypted base lines for months. "Mr. Thompson?" the woman on the line asked. "Speaking. This is Patricia from First South National Bank. We're following up on the late payment for your property loan in San Bernardino." I blinked. "What loan?" There was a long pause, then some rustling of papers. "The $480,000 mortgage secured in your name back in January. We attempted to reach you by mail and email. The last 3 payments are past due." I thought it was a prank at first. Maybe someone back on base messing with me. But something about her tone, dead serious and deeply concerned, stopped me from hanging up. "I'm deployed. I've never applied for a mortgage. And I definitely don't own a property in California." Another pause. Then she said, "You might want to contact the fraud department immediately, Mr. Thompson. I'll put a note in your file. But, sir, your name and military ID were used to secure this loan." Suddenly, the heat around me wasn't from the sun. My stomach dropped like I'd been gut-punched. I scribbled the fraud hotline number on the back of a ration box with shaking hands. The rest of the day was a blur, debriefs, chow gear checks, but all I could think about was how the hell this could have happened. I hadn't even been stateside in 9 months. And last time I checked, identity theft didn't usually involve a full-on house purchase. It wasn't until 2 nights later, under a tarp with my flashlight aimed at a printout of my credit report, that I saw the full horror of it: a nearly $500,000 home loan, co-signed with a name I knew all too well. My father. The same man who used to lecture me about personal responsibility, while I mowed lawns to save for college. The same man who said joining the Marines was the first useful thing you've ever done with your life. And apparently the same man who decided to play Monopoly with my name while I was dodging IEDs overseas. I couldn't sleep that night. My bunkmate, Lance Corporal Ramirez, noticed me tossing and turning. "You good, bro?" he asked, half awake. "Yeah," I lied. "Just family stuff." Which was both vague and horrifyingly accurate. The next time I called home, I didn't waste time on small talk. "Hey, Dad. Quick question. Why is there a $480,000 mortgage in my name?" There was a beat of silence. Then his voice, that slow, slippery tone he used when caught. "I was gonna tell you," he said. "It's just complicated." I sat in the corner of the comm tent, jaw clenched, heart racing. "You forged my ID while I was overseas." No, I didn't forge it. We just used some paperwork from when you enlisted. It was already in the system. Your mom figured. My mom's in on this too. Son, you weren't using your credit. And your sister needed a place to live. It was gonna be temporary. We thought. You thought I'd never find out?" He sighed. "You should be grateful we trusted you enough to help your own family." Grateful. He wanted me to be grateful that he and my mom had used my military service, my identity, to secure a loan for a house I'd never seen, never signed for, and now owed nearly $500,000 on. I didn't say another word. I hung up. And then I started recording every call from that moment on. The first thing I did back at base was email the fraud division at First South National. I told them I was active duty and had never signed for a mortgage. They responded fast, which, in hindsight, told me they already knew something was off. The next email had scans of the loan docs. And there it was, my name, signature, social security number, military ID, and even a copy of my deployment orders. The cosigner? David Thompson. My father. The property? A 5-bedroom house in a sunny California suburb. Pool. Tesla. Golden retriever on the porch. All the things I didn't have while sleeping under a Humvee. My credit score had dropped over 100 points. I couldn't even open a basic checking account now. I called the bank again, this time through a secure line. Technically, the rep said, if your father accessed your documents and you didn't report fraud within 60 days, the loan is valid. So I get penalized for being deployed? Silence. Yes, sir. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was legal hell. I needed help. Real help. I messaged a buddy in my unit. His sister had just finished law school, and he always joked she could make a priest confess to tax fraud. Her name's Elise, he said. Civil and criminal. She doesn't mess around. I emailed her that night with everything I had, scans, timelines, my deployment proof, and a single line. I think my parents committed mortgage fraud. I want out. She replied within hours. This is ugly. And you're going to need more than just me. While Elise dug into the legal side, I made a personal call to my mom. She picked up on the third ring. Hey, sweetheart. How's Afghanistan? I saw the mortgage. Silence. Then a soft. It was for your sister. She was pregnant. We couldn't afford the down payment. You used my name and military ID. You weren't using your credit. She snapped, like that was a defense. It's not like we didn't plan to pay it off. We just hit some bumps. You're 3 months behind. The bank called me. You always said family comes first. No. What you did is identity theft. Click. She hung up. That recording? Exhibit A. Over the next few days, Elise and I compiled timestamps, call logs, financial docs, everything. She uncovered something terrifying. If they accessed your military files for this, they broke federal law. She said, we're not talking just fraud. This could be prison time. Then came my sister's voicemail. You're gonna get mom and dad arrested. They're not even living there anymore. I got evicted. Please just drop it. Don't ruin our family over a loan. Exhibit B. Elise kept pushing. Who notarized the documents? I called the mortgage officer. Looks like the notary was Sandra Thompson. My mother. I froze. They didn't just forge my name. They notarized it themselves. They forged an entire life, while I was overseas, and signed it like it was just another permission slip. I called Elise. Her voice didn't even flinch. Lucas, she said, they're going to prison. By the time Elise built a legal case strong enough to crush a semi, I was back stateside. 2 tours, honorable discharge, a handful of ribbons, and a credit score wrecked by the people who raised me. She met me the first week. You've got enough here for criminal and civil, she said, flipping through a thick binder. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Conspiracy. This isn't a slap on the wrist, this is prison. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't ready to drop the hammer, not yet. I needed to hear it from them. One last time. So I set up a family meeting. Their house looked worse in person. Faded siding. A warped campaign sign in the garage. The Tesla had a flat tire and expired tags. The whole place reeked of debt and denial. They greeted me like I'd just returned from summer camp. My dad even patted me on the back. Good to see you, son. We sat in the living room. My sister crossed her arms. My mom brought coffee like we were about to gossip about the neighbors. I'm recording this, I said, placing my phone on the table. Nobody objected. Who signed my name? I asked. My dad scratched his jaw. It was a team thing. We had your enlistment docs. You weren't using them. You took out a $480,000 loan with my name. It's your family's house. My mom said like that explained everything. You destroyed my credit. My clearance is on hold. You committed felonies. My sister rolled her eyes. You're acting like a victim. I am a victim. This forced you to grow up. She muttered. The rage settled deep in my chest. Elise warned me they'd try to flip the script. But I didn't expect them to be so smug about it. I stood. You have until Friday. Admit what you did. Sign the house over. Or I go nuclear. My dad's smirk faded. You'd really send your parents to jail? No. You did that yourselves. I walked out. That night, I sent Elise the recording. Her reply was short. Perfect. Friday came and went. Nothing. Not a text. Not a call. Saturday morning, Elise filed both suits. And that's when the smear campaign began. My sister went full reality TV mode on Facebook, long posts about military trauma, and how some people sue their own parents over a misunderstanding. Comments poured in. Lucas should be ashamed. Family over finances. I'd bet he's just angry he wasn't left the house. I didn't reply. I screenshot every post and sent them to Elise. She had already taken it a step further. She brought in a journalist. A good one. The kind who exposes government waste, corporate fraud, and, apparently, families who screw over deployed service members. The segment aired Tuesday night. Parents forged son's identity for $480,000 mortgage while he served overseas. Faces blurred. Names changed. But anyone who knew us? Knew. I watched it from the apartment I shared with two other vets. When it ended, one of them turned to me. Bro, he said. Your folks are cooked. The next morning, my voicemail was full. So was my parents'. Because this was just the beginning. Now the world knew what they did. And they couldn't spin the narrative anymore. The court summons arrived on a Wednesday. Certified mail. One envelope for each of them, my father, my mother, and my sister. Elise made sure the language was crystal clear: identity theft, fraud, misuse of federal military records, and civil damages totaling over $500,000. The next day, my mom left me 6 voicemails in a row. The last one was the real gem. I hope you're happy. You've broken your father's heart. He can't sleep. Your sister's been crying. You've destroyed this family. Are you proud of yourself, Lucas? I didn't reply. Instead, I clipped the voicemails into a folder Elise labeled Emotional Manipulation, Exhibit C. They didn't call Elise directly. But their lawyer did. He was a small-town guy with a last name that sounded like a casserole. Mr. Artelman. On our first call, he tried to sound reasonable. Your clients made some questionable decisions, Elise said. That doesn't excuse identity theft. We're hoping to resolve this outside of court. She didn't blink. Then they'll need to admit guilt, transfer the deed, repair the damage to my client's credit, and agree to a protective order going forward. Mr. Artelman sighed like she was asking for a pound of flesh. I'll talk to them. Meanwhile, the media fallout kept cooking. An army buddy of mine posted the news clip on Reddit. It hit r/pro-revenge like napalm. Thousands of upvotes. People were furious. One comment read, he should sue them into the Stone Age. Another, I'm a vet. If my parents did this while I was deployed, they'd be disowned. They didn't know it yet, but that word? Disowned? That was about to come back around, hard. The real shift happened when Elise's private investigator delivered gold. Turns out my parents had tried this before. Not with me. With my uncle. 10 years ago, they used his credit for a car loan. When he confronted them, they ghosted him and told the family he'd gone off the rails. He was willing to testify. And he still had receipts. That became Exhibit D. A week later, Mr. Artelman called Elise back. They're willing to sign the deed over, he said, but they want the criminal charges dropped and your client to post a retraction on social media. Elise actually laughed. They want him to say they didn't steal from him? Something that softens the narrative. No. Then we're going to trial. Excellent. That night I got a text from my dad. First one in weeks. You win. You always had to win. I stared at the screen. Then typed back. No. I just stopped losing. The pre-trial hearing started a month later. I showed up in a button-down shirt and clean jeans. Elise wore all black. My parents looked like they'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks. My sister didn't make eye contact. The judge asked both sides if mediation was an option. Elise answered for me. Your Honor, we offered mediation. They asked for silence in exchange for compliance. We're not here for silence. We're here for justice. The judge nodded. Proceed. That weekend, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From my mom. You were always so dramatic. Always had to make everything a scene. You could have just come to us. We're your parents. We gave you life. And then, the line that stuck with me. You'll regret this when we're gone. I folded the letter neatly. Placed it in the exhibit folder. Label. Guilt, parental weaponized, final. Because what they didn't know. I had one final move left. And it was going to be public. And permanent. Court didn't look like TV. No gasps from the gallery. No slamming gavels. Just sterile walls, humming AC, and 3 people who used to love me, sitting 10 feet away, pretending they were the victims. I took the stand first. Elise kept me calm. Direct. She laid the foundation, my service history, my absence during the mortgage filing, and the timeline of when the documents were signed. Then she dropped the bomb. Did you authorize your father to use your identity to take out a mortgage while you were on active duty? No. Did you sign the mortgage documents? No. And who is the notary listed on those documents? My mother. Gasps? No. But my dad shifted. My mom suddenly found something fascinating on the floor. Then Elise played the audio. The family meeting. The part where my father said it was a team effort. And my mother said, it's your family's house. The court reporter looked up at one point, probably surprised to hear fraud being confessed over a cup of Folgers. My sister took the stand next. She wore a cardigan and tried the young struggling mom routine. She cried a little. Said I had always been distant. That I was never close to the family. And that the house was for everyone, not just her. Elise didn't interrupt. She waited. Then pulled out the voicemail. The one where my sister said, it's not even my house anymore. I got evicted. Do you stand by that statement? Elise asked. My sister froze. I was upset. But it's true? I guess. Thank you. Next witness. Then came my dad. He tried the charm first. Called me his boy, and said it was a misunderstanding. Claimed he thought he had verbal permission to use my name. While your son was deployed overseas? Elise asked. We're a close family. You never called him to ask? I didn't want to bother him. She pulled out Exhibit F, the forged deployment document, an altered version of my actual orders. Did you make this? I don't recall. You don't recall forging a government document? His lawyer tried to object. The judge overruled. Then Elise asked one more question. Do you believe what you did was legal? My father hesitated. And for the first time, I saw it, not guilt. Not regret. Fear. No, he whispered. My mom didn't testify. She pled the Fifth. And that told the judge everything he needed to know. In the end, the verdict was swift. Criminal charges moved forward. The civil case? I won. The house was transferred to my name. The court ordered them to pay restitution, nearly $100,000 in damages for the credit repair, fees, and breach of federal military privacy laws. They couldn't afford it. That wasn't my problem. Outside the courthouse, I stood under a gray sky. Elise handed me a copy of the judgment. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. I am. She smiled. Good. Because it's not over yet. What do you mean? They just lost in court. Now they're going to try and win in public. Sure enough, the next morning, I woke up to a headline on Facebook. Sun Tzu's parents over house, destroys family. My sister's doing. The post was long, dramatic, full of lies. But she made one mistake. She tagged the address, my address. And within 12 hours, people were showing up. Reporters. Curious neighbors. One guy even came with a "Free Mom and Dad" sign. That's when I decided to make it very, very public. I didn't respond to my sister's Facebook post. I crafted my own. Just a photo. Me in uniform, standing in front of the house they stole, the one now legally mine, holding the court ruling in one hand, my honorable discharge papers in the other. The caption? While I was serving my country, my parents committed fraud in my name. They lost in court. Now they want to win on Facebook. Here's the truth. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't name drop. But it spread. Fast. Within 24 hours, it had over 60,000 shares. Veteran groups reposted it. Local news picked it up. People who had commented, "Family over finances," on my sister's post started backpedaling in real time. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't, "Ungrateful soldier destroys family." It was, "This vet got robbed by the people who raised him, and won." Elise called that night. "You've done something rare," she said. "You didn't just win the case. You reclaimed the story." And the story mattered. Because the next day, my parents showed up at the house. Not to fight. To beg. I saw them from the window, my dad pacing on the sidewalk, my mom in sunglasses and a scarf like she was in witness protection. I stepped out onto the porch. Neither of us spoke at first. Then my mom said, "It's not fair." "Fair? We raised you. We sacrificed so much. You exploited me. It was one mistake. It was multiple felonies." My dad stepped forward. "We're not bad people. You're not good ones either." He clenched his jaw. "You're humiliating us. You did that yourselves." Then I pulled out my phone. Hit record. "You're being recorded right now," I said. "Anything you say can and will be sent to my lawyer." They turned and walked away without another word. That recording? It never got used. But it felt good to make them feel small. Just once. I got a call that evening from a journalist at Military Times. They wanted to do a feature. Not on the lawsuit, on financial abuse of military members by family. Apparently, it was more common than people thought. "You'd be surprised how many soldiers get back to find their credit ruined," the reporter said. "Most don't fight back." You did. So I agreed. Told my story. Kept it honest. Didn't slander anyone. Just shared the facts. The piece went live the following week with the headline, "He fought for his country, and then had to fight his family." It went viral. And just like that, my parents were internet famous for all the wrong reasons. My sister sent me a text the day after the article dropped. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" I didn't reply. She followed up. "Hope it was worth it. Nobody wants to be around someone who tears their own family apart." She was wrong. Because suddenly, I had people around me who did understand. Other vets reached out. Strangers shared similar stories. Even a few old friends I hadn't heard from in years texted. "I'm proud of you. Took guts." It felt strange. For the first time in years, I wasn't alone. But just when I thought it was over, Elise called. "Got a weird one," she said. "Your dad tried to open a new line of credit last week. In his name? In yours." "What?" "He's desperate." I froze. "Can we stop him?" "Oh, we will," she said. "But I think it's time we tighten things up. Permanently." "What does that mean?" "It means we're about to make sure your parents never get to touch your name again." After Elise's call, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about how, even after everything, the court case, the judgment, the media fallout, my father still tried to use my name again. Like nothing had changed. Like I was still some extension of his wallet. "Elise," I said when we met the next morning, Make it permanent. Burn every bridge. She nodded. We're filing for a full identity lock, military included. You'll have alerts on every account. They won't be able to open a library card without tripping an alarm. She wasn't kidding. We locked my credit reports with all 3 bureaus. Filed an official identity theft recovery with the FTC. Then came the part that really hit. We submitted formal documentation to the Department of Defense ID Recovery Office, something most soldiers never have to think about. A note went into my personnel record. Subject to family-based financial exploitation. All personal data must be confirmed via biometrics or in person. No exceptions. It was rare, but legal. And now, anytime anyone tried to use my military ID for anything, I'd get a phone call before a single digit was verified. While Elise worked, I drove to the county registrar's office. I took back my power in the simplest, most symbolic way possible. I had my name legally changed. Not the first name. Not the middle. Just one letter in the last name. From Thompson to Thompson. Nobody but Elise knew. Not even my unit. The courts knew. The DoD knew. But my parents? They'd never be able to fill out another loan with Lucas Thompson on the dotted line, because that man didn't exist anymore. The final step was a restraining order. Not just civil. Permanent. Covering financial access, contact, property, employment, and online impersonation. When Elise filed it, she added something extra. A civil penalty clause. Violation of this order carries a $10,000 fine and immediate criminal referral. The judge approved it. No hesitation. That same day, Elise served my parents one final time, through a private courier, because certified mail wasn't enough anymore. The envelope was heavy. Inside? The restraining order. The courts signed approval. And a copy of my legal name change. According to the courier, my father went pale. My mother tried to say something, but couldn't finish the sentence. They had tried to steal my identity. And I'd erased any path they could use to do it again. That weekend I visited my uncle. The one they scammed years ago. He met me on his porch, cracked open 2 beers, and said, "Didn't think anyone in this family had the balls to take them down." I raised my bottle. Turns out one of us did. We didn't talk about court. Or credit. Or the wreckage my parents left behind. We talked about rebuilding. About what's next. I didn't post again on social media. Didn't send another message. Didn't gloat. Because the silence spoke louder than anything I could say. The same way their betrayal had echoed in every voicemail and forged document, now, my absence would haunt them. They couldn't reach me. Couldn't tag me. Couldn't find my address. Couldn't even use my name. They lost everything. And I finally had peace. I moved across the country 6 months later. Not to hide, but to start fresh. New state. New job. New life with people who saw me as more than a cautionary tale or a headline. I still had the house, technically. Rented it out to a veteran housing program. Felt right. Let something good grow out of what they tried to rot. Every now and then I'd get a letter forwarded from my old address. One was from my dad. "We made mistakes. We know. But family is family. You can't erase blood." I didn't respond. Because I hadn't erased blood. I just stopped letting it bleed me dry. My credit? Rebuilt. My job? I now lead ops at a cybersecurity firm that specifically helps protect military identities. Elise introduced me. And my peace? Solid. No knocks at my door. No anonymous emails. No fake loan attempts in my name. Silence. And not the cold, awkward kind I used to feel at their dinner table. This silence was clean. Honest. Mine. Last month, I got a message from another soldier. A guy who found my story online and tracked me down. He'd just come back from a year-long deployment. Found out his brother had used his name to rack up $60,000 in credit card debt. He didn't know what to do, I told him everything. How to document it. Who to call. What forms to file. What words to use when the guilt kicks in. When we finished, he said something that hit hard. You make it feel survivable. And that's when I realized I hadn't just won. I'd helped others learn how to fight back too. To this day, my parents still think I destroyed the family. But they never asked the real question. Why was the family built on something so fragile in the first place? The truth is, they never thought I'd say no. They never thought I'd outgrow the leash they wrapped in the name of love. But I did. And if you're reading this, if you've been hurt by the people who were supposed to protect you, let me tell you something. You don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them your silence. And you definitely don't owe them your name.